You're an expert in running and operating a restaurant. You're an expert in opening and launching restaurants. It's two distinct different skill sets.
Yeah.
Right. The actionable item that someone that's trying to get into a new marketplace is that they know their business, right? And they know their customer currently.
Right.
Is it going to be the same customer, and is it going to be the same type of customer? Or are they going to have to change their business when they go into a new marketplace?
I love that. Yeah.
So the one thing that I've always done is...
Let's rip.
All right, cool.
Okay.
Imagine a perfect world where you can build a restaurant, open the doors, and make loads of money. Unfortunately, those days are over. It takes great leadership, hard work, and long hours to operate a successful restaurant. Together, we can make it happen. This is Restauranttopia. All right, welcome back to Restauranttopia. We are here in the Hillcrest Studios and enjoying life. So we got a special guest today, Josh Lang, who's the founder and owner of Pink Cloud Media, and also my very good friend Brian Seitz in the studio today.
Thank you, Dave. I appreciate it. I'm excited to have Josh here today. Cool fact is Josh is returning back to Ohio from Vegas. Got a ton of experience out there opening and launching new concepts. Vegas is the killing field of new concepts. If you don't do it well, you're going to die.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the biggest thing with Vegas. Like, you have to, when you launch something there, it has to be done right, or you're forgotten about. Because there's something new every day.
The attention span's there's nothing.
Unlimited amounts of capital, and someone else is going to open tomorrow. So if yours isn't good, are you going to get that customer to ever come back or even know about you?
Yeah, and the attention of detail that I think is something that kind of can get missed a little bit. The amount of time it takes to get through a concept there, going through new places, new areas of, which casino are you going to go in? Where is it going to be in the casino? What is the value of your place in the casino? And then how are you going to reach these guests? Because if it's a big restaurant or, who's your chef? Or if it's a big, club, what kind of DJ or program? How are you going to program that venue to be something that people care about?
And you're also dealing with a guest that's transient. You know what I mean? So it's like you might not have that regular.
It's a new guest. It's a new guest every day. So database collection is important, and creating relationships is even more important out there.
Sure. Yeah. We really are excited to have you because you've got an interesting story, I believe, of how you ended up out there, how you're coming back, and how you can help restaurant operators now.
I started to do hosting, which is more like a sales job, right? Where you're supposed to go up to customers. There'd be if there's you and two buddies are all sitting there at a table in the middle of the Mirage. My job was to walk up to you and sell you a $500 bottle of Sky Vodka, which costs $12 or whatever it costs, right? That was what I had to do. And you learn that tough skin and just go and talking to people.
It's like selling ice to an Eskimo.
It's tough, but it's tough though, right? $500. Think about that.
Yeah.
No, it's the value proposition that my cheap ass can't wrap my mind around. I'm just gonna go down to ABC Liquor and buy that my own.
So you end up learning this thing that we called the sell, right? It was understanding the tourists, understanding who this customer was, why they're there, what really moves them, right? And instantaneously, within a 2-minute conversation, because you don't have much time with them. It's like a guy just on the street just telling you, hey, you need to come do this. Yeah. And there's everyone's doing that to someone out there. Like in Vegas, everyone's selling you on something. So you have to be really good at it.
Well, and it's also, I don't, you've done this, so I don't want to tell you, that I know how it works, but I feel it's like that $500 bottle of vodka that costs $30 is not a $30 bottle of vodka. That's a story. That's a memory. That's an experience. That's that's all those things. And how do you deliver that?
So it's the access, right? It's the access. It's the experience that you're creating. You get to go back to Wisconsin or go back to Ohio and tell your friends, I was at this table. I was right next to X, this celebrity or this performer. There's only 20 of us that had tables in the whole place. It was so cool, right? And you're speaking that every day to all these people, and it becomes this machine.
I met this guy named Josh, and when we go out there next year, we're gonna hook up with them.
or you're going out there, you gotta meet Josh. So having that connection with the customer, even though they are transient, they do have a great network, and you can push people back into your venue.
Sure. And Mike, over the years, that's what separates the people that kind of fizzle out of Vegas that have worked there, and the people who stay there for 10, 15, 20 years. Right? It's that relationship building process. It's the ability to create connections with people who you just meet. And I have some of my best friends on this earth are people that I met while I was working in Las Vegas, right? Yeah. People that would do anything for me. And these people are CEOs or they could just be a couple of guys that just came in, right? And they'll call me like, hey, I'm coming to Vegas. I have this person coming to Vegas. We need this. We need this. I would sell out my sports bar 2 days after March Madness for the next year because of all the relationships that I had built. And
it's one of those things where it changes the experience of the entire weekend if you have a table and you have access, and that is worth the $500 bottle. And if you don't even drink it, it's just to pay that kind of that tax or that cover charge or whatever you want to call it. But people want that experience, and I think people are willing to pay. I mean, especially in Vegas, but everywhere.
Yeah, no, they are. You're seeing it in other markets, right? Vegas is really like an outlier, and Miami's probably there too.
Yeah, sure.
But you go into other marketplaces now. Scottsdale has taken that Vegas feel, turned it into Old Town in Scottsdale, and Scottsdale is off the chain. You see places here in Cleveland, bottle service. Like you go into Barley House, or you go into Forward, or you go in a lot of different places. They're selling bottle service, and they're filling their tables with bottle service clients. Across the country, it's the same thing. Right. And it's kind of taken off over the last 10, 15 years at a level of just like, this is something we can kind of create in other marketplaces, and it works. You just add maybe a smaller scale.
Right. No, you have to serve the audience.
Right.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. And give them the experience. I mean, at the end of the day, they want the experience. They want to be around other people.
No, and that's what comes back to just, we talk about all the time, on the episodes is, it's the hospitality, it's the experience, it's the wow factor. It's all those things wrapped up into why people want to come in and spend their most precious resource, which is time, and then spend their money,
And the people that do that well in any market are winning.
Yeah.
100%. They're winning pre-COVID, during COVID, post-COVID. The hospitality experience is absolutely everything. I speak on it all the time when I talk to anybody. It's like, this is what you have to do. Like, you have to treat these people like they are valuable when they walk in your door.
Yeah.
And if you don't do that, they're going to the door next door. And they're going to walk in that door and see if they get treated properly that way.
Right.
Right.
No question.
And it doesn't matter if it's Vegas or Toledo or Cleveland, Ohio, or wherever you're at. Giving them that hospitality is key. It's the end all be all.
You called it the cell, I think. You're working the room, working the cell, whatever you're doing. In the restaurant business, the butts that are in the seats, everybody wants to get butts into the seats. But once the butts are in the seats, I feel like it falls short at times. That's, instead of out in the street trying to wave people down to come in your place, let's work the people that are in there and let's give them the best experience and upsell them and give them, And I think that's something, if anybody can take something away, the pivot that needs to happen in some organizations.
Because the difference is it's the long play. So if you're totally consumed with how am I going to make payroll? How am I going to do this? How am I going to get enough money to buy myself a car?
My dishwasher just called off.
Versus how am I focusing on providing amazing hospitality? All that other stuff will actually wash out because you're going to generate more long-term revenue because tonight's customer is coming back in 2 weeks. Tonight's customer is telling 10 people. Tonight's customer is giving you a good review online. Tonight's customer is leaving a big tip for your server who in turn stays with you longer because she knows she can make good money. It's all of those things.
Right.
Yeah.
The upselling, right, isn't just about, hey, you're going to buy this item on my menu that's going to make me an extra $2 on my margin, right? Selling the customer is selling the experience of the venue. It's getting to know them, making them feel like they're someone who belongs there, asking them questions like where they're from, what they do for fun, warm them up to the point where they sit down, and then you know what? The busser's going to ask them the same questions. And guess what? The server's going to ask them similar questions. And when they walk up to order their food at the food truck, the person who's handling the food items at the food truck or that ordering clerk is going to ask them some questions too. And if you're all speaking the same language and it's consistent throughout the venue, the experience that customer receives is just over the moon when they leave there.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we did out in Vegas, and a lot of places do, but it falls short even in Vegas. That was one thing that we made sure that everyone was trained with that process, because we understood that hospitality is everything and that service is everything.
It can be used at every level of restaurant, and I think that people need to really train their staff on this, because when you're not doing this, you're not creating the connection. Coming out of COVID, now that COVID is over, I got 2 shots in me, fully vaccinated.
Vax waxed and ready to party. Right?
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah.
That's funny.
If that is not being done, you're going to lose, because customers want that now. They want the interaction. They've been at home with their spouse, their partner, staring at each other, doing home improvement projects. They want to go out. They want to go have fun. They want to interact with staff.
Yeah. And Josh, you said something powerful earlier. The people that are doing that now, won pre, they're winning now, and they're going to win after. If you haven't got to that point, like, it's okay. It's like the analogy, when's the best time to plant a tree? You know what I mean? 20 years ago. When's the second best time? Right now. You know what I mean? So you can still get started on something like this if you're not quite there.
It should be a core part of your business philosophy in your venues. that's something that you're not doing and you choose not to do, the opposite of winning is what? Right?
Losing.
You're going to go out of business.
Yeah.
You're going to lose business. You're going to that separation gap between the winners and the losers is going to continue to grow.
Right.
I think that that's something you can do right now. It's just like, hey, it's having a meeting with your staff. These are the new things that we're going to do. This is how we're going to treat Susie when she comes in. Yeah. This is how we're going to talk to the guests. This is how we're going to shake their hands, or we're going to create some fun way to interact with our guests now to make them feel special.
Yeah.
It's an opportunity for restaurateurs. Right?
No, it's a huge opportunity, and like you said, it's either an opportunity that somebody's seasoned or they're not. I mean, I think about the best experiences I've had in places that I would be considered a regular, and it's all about the people. 100%. It could be the shittiest dive bar. It's not all about location. It's not all about decor. It's not all about the menu. It's not all about the but it's the people, man. So who is it? You walk in and the bartender knows what drink you want. It's like sitting there because they saw you walk in the front. It's sitting there when you sit down. Like that's the kind of stuff that separates.
Like, I don't know about you guys, but I'm the type of person that I like to go out by myself and have lunch, or go out and I'll sit at a bar, right in the middle of nowhere if I'm traveling or and I sit there and I like to get to know everybody in the bar. That's the type of person that I am. There's a lot of people that are like that, and it's a genuine communication skills that some people possess and some don't. Right. That's one thing that you got to be careful about with trying to put this out there, that you're this hospitality, this new version of our restaurant. It's like, is it real? Are you really doing this, or is it genuine, or are you just trying to do this because you feel you have to? Right.
Well, and it comes from, I think it's a difference between actions and marketing. You know what I mean? Like, if you're marketing, hey, we got this new whatever, you know what I mean? But if it's not actually happening, it's like trying to build culture. The owner's like, we're gonna have better culture, but then he's still banging the waitresses in the office. You know what I mean? Like, you're like, okay,
your culture's not great.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like that sounds great, buddy.
Talking about actions, like so you're an expert in opening new locations. And a lot of our listeners are identifying new locations that they want to open, their second, third, fifth location, whatever it is. But just because you have a great location in one suburb doesn't mean that you're going to be great downtown, or that you're going to be great in a suburb 10 miles away. So what are some actionable tips that our listeners can take away and say, all right, if I do these things, my new opening launch will be so much better? And again, if you think about this as a listener out there, you're not an expert in opening places. You're an expert in running your current operation, but you need to introduce your concept to the community. And how do you do that? And that's what I can't wait to hear about.
Like the who, what, where, why, when type of scenario when it comes to taking a proven concept. You have proof of concept in market A, you want to go to market B.
And systems. Like you have a competitive advantage of someone else. I mean, just because you're opening up a location that you already have a system. You already know how the recipes do. You already know the food costing. You already know everything that we talk about on Restaurantopia. That you should go back and listen to all the episodes. All the things that you should be doing, that you are doing as a student of the game, as we like to say. But this is a new market. This is different, though. The chicken parm may be the same, but this is a new market.
Yeah. So one of the things I'll give an example first, and then I'll explain in a little bit more detail.
Love it.
We took a pretty proven concept in Las Vegas, and I was required to go do it in Washington, D.C. Actually, it was in Maryland, National Harbor, Maryland, right across the Potomac, right? Nice. So I was out there for 2 months researching and developing concept with our operator and with our partners, as well as getting to know the lay of the land, how things operate. What type of staffing am I going to need? Who actually cares about hospitality in this marketplace? What's the customer? Who is that customer? What do they like to eat? What are some cultural things that are like, what is the culture here in this marketplace versus the marketplace that we're already in? Are we gonna have to change our menu to kind of fit that, right? Is there gonna be more fish heavy because we're on the waterfront, right? Those type of things. And
also, what is the customer out there experiencing now? Right. That you can capitalize.
And what are the politics in that area too? Sure. It's important stuff.
There's politics in Maryland?
Well, listen to this. So we had a deal. The casino was being built on Oxon Hill in Maryland. It was a land lease deal for 100 years, right? In order to get that land lease deal, they had to give up certain percentage of staffing to a specific county, which is PG County, which is right in DC. Staffing that casino wasn't like staffing a casino anywhere else in the country or staffing a restaurant. It was very different. So there's different scenarios you have to put in place.
Rules,
There's rules sometimes in legislation that kind of makes you have to do certain things. So we couldn't figure out how we got our Vegas style staffing. I didn't know anybody. So I went and got to know every single bar owner in the city. I went to every club, infiltrated those places, got to know the people, started to buy bottle service at these different places myself to get to know the waitresses, understood how they moved. In DC, it moves different. The girls go from they work one place on Monday, they work another place on Tuesday, another place on Wednesday. I've never seen anything like that.
That's interesting.
Right? So I got in touch with a couple of these girls. I'm like, well, what do we have to do to get you to come work for us Monday through Sunday?
So do your A players, if this place has a great Tuesday night, the A player is going to work there, and if this place has a really hot Thursday night, she's going to work there.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's okay.
They follow promoters there.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
So there's a promotion, right? If there's a hip hop promoter that's really hot and he gets like 3 different clubs in that week, those girls that follow that bottle service money at those 3 places will work at all 3.
Okay, gotcha.
It's very different from what I'm used to.
So you're trying to convert them to a 5-day work week.
Right.
Yeah, you're like employees. Like,
Yeah.
were they 1099s or how were they getting comp?
They were 1099s, and it was mainly they were just doing it for the tips. They didn't care about it.
Sure. Yeah.
So they didn't really care about anything else, but it was just a different culture, right? And I saw that and I was just like, how am I going to get all these girls to come to one place? We ended up figuring it out. It worked out. I got on a local dating app there and created like a professional profile. If you can do that, but it was before you could actually really do that. And I was like, listen, I'm looking for waitresses and bartenders at our new places that are going to be in this casino. This is strictly professional. A couple of girls reached out. And they were part of that clique. I had them all come into an interview. We discussed terms of contracts, got them done. We're like, listen, we'll give you benefits. You're going to work in a casino, all these different things.
Which is a game changer.
Which is a game changer for them. Some of them had kids, and we moved the bar for them.
Yeah.
Right? And when you changed the bar, it allowed us to open in that place in a very comfortable place with how we do service. Because we trained them. We had the right look. It was everything that we wanted. It worked out perfect.
Identify what the market is. And like I think that's cool. The research that you did and kind of understood, like maybe they're not providing benefits, maybe they're not providing the consistency, maybe they're not providing. There's something missing that other operators are doing that you don't want to be everyone else, but you do need to know what everyone else is doing.
Right.
But think about that from a local restaurant, like the listener out there. Like if you're just trying to go from Westlake to Eastlake, do you know Eastlake?
Yeah,
like, do you
it's
know?
a
You know what I mean?
totally
Like,
different market.
Yeah.
My answer is no, I don't. I personally don't. And if I was going to take a business and go into Eastlake and try to open it up, I would have to do all of those things that I said I did in Washington, D.C. And it's even like if it's 30, 40 miles, right? Or even Columbus, from here to Columbus. If you're going to open something in Columbus, what part of Columbus are you going to open it in? Who's your customer going to be? Is it going to be the post-grad customer that lives in the short north, or is it going to be the kids that have been there from 18 to 22 who are on High Street and all the streets around it and that whole campus area? Or is it going to be in Dublin, or is it going to be here? Like, who's your market?
Right.
And then what can you do as an owner-operator to change your game plan a little bit to make sure you can capture that market consistently?
Right.
And is it worth the rent and the space and those type of things, right? But I think to answer your question, if there's one piece of free advice that I would give someone who's thinking about going to the market, it's not just knowing the surface level things about that market and be like, oh, I went there for a trip one time and this bar was killing it. I know I could open a place there and do well, right? I think you have to go into a deeper dive into the marketplace, spend more time there, peel back numbers, and more importantly, peel back who your customer is. And really find that out. And as if you can consistently capture a certain customer in the marketplace, then I would say maybe go forward.
Yeah, I would also say reach out to your broadline food service rep, because he's going to know. He's going to understand the market, especially if he has several customers there. Like they're gonna know what that market's like. It's like, this is a tough market, or this is a great market. There's growth, and there's room for more locations.
Yeah, but that's something, again, I think it's something that's missed a lot. I mean, just to go across town, like it's not, now it might be condensed. You might not spend 2 months there, but you should spend a little bit of time figuring it out.
You
know
do
what I mean?
need
Like,
to.
because it's not as dramatic maybe as Vegas and Maryland,
Well,
but still there's plenty of things that are going to be different.
And the thing is this is something that I do consistently. Companies will reach out to me because one thing that they don't have, and you talked about earlier being valuable, is time. But like, how am I going to go spend 2 weeks in this marketplace when I have a family? I have a restaurant that I'm trying to operate now post-COVID. I'm trying to just make sure I'm making my money. We have the funds to go out and do this, but I don't have the time. Like, who can I do? And that's when you can reach out to a guy like me. It's like, that's what I do. I'm like a ninja when it comes to it. I go into marketplaces.
But you also don't have preconceived notions and are not married to the concept. I think that's one thing that an operator gets into. They get
That's-
myopic. And that's why the value of hiring someone is so great, as far as like, you're there, you picked it, you think this is amazing, and everything is looked at with rose-colored glasses.
Well, it's no different than grandma's spaghetti. You thought it was a great menu item until you pull the POS 10 years later and you sell one a week.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, oh shit, like,
correct.
It's not as good as I thought. You know?
No, it's you're looking at the data, and you have to be able to step back and be intellectually honest with yourself. And again, I'm not saying that that's a super strong skill that everyone has. I think that's a difficult thing.
I think being honest with one of the things that I've learned is, you know, by sitting with some of the people that I've had the opportunity to sit next to, whether it be in Vegas or here in Cleveland, always being honest in the room has kept me in the room, right? Whenever I see something, whether it's a menu tasting or whether it's a cocktail like presentation or it's staffing, uniforms, anything, right? It's like, you know, that might work here, but that's not going to work there. This doesn't really taste very good. I'm not sure. Maybe you tried this, or this tastes awesome, but is it going to, you know, what's the price point on it? Are you going to be able to get that consistently out of the customer?
Yeah.
I mean, that's something you guys deal with probably consistently too.
Well, and is it going to resonate with that customer there? Right. Like if you need to do a great fish fry Friday, or a fish dish, like you need to know that. You need to know what your community wants and what that area is going to, you know, require.
Well, and I think it's something we talk about at Hillcrest is it's being candid. You know, it's having radical candor to say, like, you know, that's why people want you back, because you're honest, you're not sugarcoating. You're like, oh, that was great, because anybody can be a bobblehead.
Yeah.
But when you're like, no, you know what, this is what I think here, and you know, and you've got the experience to have the right perspective.
And it comes from a good place. It comes from a place of love, and that you care about. You want them to be successful. Sure. And there's naysayers out there, but if you come to the table with, you know, candid, radical candor, as we like to say, candid advice, it's amazing.
You're right. I want people to win. That's what I've always looked at. I'm very passionate about this business. It's been my life. So I walk in any restaurant, and I'm just like thinking, and in my head's like just going a million different directions. Like, how could we help this person? What are they doing that's really cool and unique? Because people in like small little places and hole in the wall dive bars, they do some really cool, unique things. Like, man, doing that on a bigger scale might be really cool. Or
don't change it.
Or don't change it at all.
I was talking to someone the other day about a concept. It's a national chain. We always like to study the national chains just because to see what they're doing right and what they're doing wrong. And they were open 24 hours. They had servers in the dining room. And with COVID, they shortened their hours and got rid of the servers. And it was a game changer because now they're more profitable. So that type of stuff is really, really cool because they were forced to change. But I'm sure the owner, the management team was like, no, 24 hours, what makes us unique? Like, not changing that. It's like, no, that's a bad idea.
Let things change. You got to be willing to look at it and pivot. And,
Correct, yeah. And is it right in the market? The little town I live in, I think they roll up the streets at like 8:30, right? Whenever Dateline comes on, this town is shut down. Like, you can't get food, you can't get anything. Like, it's crazy, but like, you don't need to be open past 11 in that town. Maybe 9:30. Like, it is crazy to see that. But you got other communities that have a younger population that, man, you need to be open till 1 or 2, or capitalize on that bar crowd that you know people are leaving, and we can serve pizzas or panini sandwiches or muffalata or whatever type of sandwich goes good with copious amounts of alcohol. Like, that is a great revenue generator.
And even day parts. You know, I mean, maybe you do breakfast, lunch, dinner over here, but you can only get lunch, dinner, or maybe you do lunch, dinner, and you can only get dinner. Or what is the crowd? Is there businesses? Is there, you know, all those things? There's so much.
You have to be open to change in the restaurant industry, especially right now.
Yeah, I like that.
You know,
it's true.
Because if you're not, and you're just steadfast on this is how we're going to do our business, opportunities for growth are going to leave you. There's so many different things. And I think the people who are going to continue to remain successful that's one commonality that you're going to see is that, okay, I've been in business for 38 years on Kelly's Island. I normally do this, and this. But because of COVID and because of this, I'm going to have to change my service. Through that process of changing my service, I learned that I can lower my my labor costs and still put out product efficiently. And I think that's important too. It's like, wow, I just found 10% savings or X amount of percent savings in my labor numbers year over year based on this, and we still were able to produce this amount of food.
Yeah,
that stuff's huge.
Yeah,
no, it's
5% in a restaurant's a game changer.
Makes a difference.
God, it's amazing. Yeah, absolutely.
People who are open minded are gonna continue to win. I'm telling you.
You have a restaurant that does $1 million top line, and you save 5%. That's $50,000 that's going to the bottom line. That's impressive. Right. As we like to say, do you have an extra 50 grand laying around? Like, that's good.
Yeah.
But then one of the things we kind of talked about before we got on here was about the labor, right? It's people are having trouble finding labor. You can pay that's your value proposition to your staff. It's like, listen, I can pay my manager maybe a little bit more money when I save this. I can pay the sous chef and the chef a little bit more because of this, or I can bonus them out at the end of it and make more money.
Bonus them out at the end of the quarter, lock them in. And again, there's nothing wrong with golden handcuffs or incentivizing someone to stay with your organization. Great culture and good comp, and room for growth. That's what employees are looking for.
Right. Especially right now. I mean, a lot of people didn't work for a while.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's important.
But I also think that the employee is more discerning. Just like the customer got more and more discerning and expecting more and more in a good way. Like, they're not going to eat at the national chain slop bucket microwave house. I mean, they're going to want something that was made from scratch. I think the more...
I don't go anywhere that I don't enjoy the food. like if I don't enjoy it, it could be the coolest place in the world. But if the food's subpar...
Yeah.
And a lot of places do that, though. You cut your costs in food and like that food prep, it shows.
So Josh, out in Vegas, you had some success opening some pretty big places. So tell us a little bit about the places you opened out there.
I had the opportunity of opening a lot of cool venues out there while I was out there. I had Alibi Cocktail Lounge was the first one in 2014. We opened on Halloween night. Flipped around the next year and opened up Click Bar and Lounge inside the Cosmopolitan on New Year's Eve. Then I went over to the Mirage, opened up the Still, which was a food and beverage concept sports bar. We were number one sports bar. I was a partner in that venue for 5 years. We had a 1972 Airstream food truck that we literally drove through the Mirage and actually parked, and it sat in the casino, hooked up a vending system to it.
Wow.
And that was our kitchen.
That's cool.
Then I went over to DC, and kind of what we talked about before, and opened up Blossom and Felt inside the MGM National Harbor Casino. Went back to Vegas, opened up 2 new venues inside the Palms, and all the while I was still doing some operations, right? So I've done a little bit of fast casual, I've done sports bars, I've done high-end nightclubs, I've done cocktail lounges, I've done pools, I've done a little bit of everything. After a while, I got to the point where I was like, all right, I love doing these things. And then basically my role in that was creating the go-to-market strategy, doing a lot of the research and development, coming up with the menus, working with the chefs, working with mixologists, staffing, turning it over to the operator, having them operate the venue. I would stay on for 6 months, make sure everything was going properly, and then kind of separate myself from the project.
Yeah.
Nice.
The more and more I think about this, I'm almost dumbfounded, like why I never thought of to be able to do this, going across town, going to a different city. Something like your experience is invaluable to somebody. Give them the ability to, like you said, they don't have a lot of time to go out and do the research and say, here's what you should be doing out there based on what you already got.
I think the restaurateur doesn't realize how different the communities are.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Like I'm even thinking in my head, I'm like, man, this is like, I'm learning something new here. I'm like, man, you got, what are we doing? What have we been doing?
and I'm talking about going across town. Like the difference between the east side and west side of Cleveland is so different. But when you try to go to Akron and Canton and then some of the surrounding suburbs, I mean, to see that difference is huge. So you really got to be a student of the game. And I think, hire someone like Josh and bring on that skill set. You're not hiring on a full-time employee. This is an independent contractor. You use his services, get the huge value add, and start things off right. Because there's nothing worse than a continued soft opening into a slow death.
Well, and what's everybody talking about in the restaurant industry? There's a short lifespan most of the time. Stuff opens. I mean, how many locations have you seen where it keeps flipping? Well, there's a reason.
There is a reason. But I know of a location in Brecksville that flipped, I would say 10 times. And now the operator's in there for like the last 10 years. So it wasn't about the location. Because otherwise he wouldn't have been able to survive. So
no, for sure.
It was about the opening. And you had 10 shitty openings, which caused 10 shitty failures. Reach out to Josh, figure out what your game plan is. Don't do it by happenstance. It's not going to just fix itself. You need an absolute go-to-war plan on opening a new location.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Thanks, Josh. Really appreciate it. Very cool to have you here today. And your contact information will be in the show notes.
Thanks so much, fellas. I appreciate it. It was awesome.
Excellent. Thanks.
All right, that was good, right?
I tell you what, like this is one that I'm literally like, my mind's racing right now on why this isn't done better. You know what I mean? And there's going to be so much opportunity in the next couple of years because of COVID.
We also want to thank our sponsor, Hillcrest Food Service. If you are a local independent restaurant and are looking for a distributor who has chef and operational consulting, provides marketing support, does menu reviews, and most importantly, wants you to be successful, reach out to Hillcrest Food Service at hillcrestfoods.com.